So, here we are. Amtrak has finally announced a start date for service of the new Acela train sets, dubbed NextGen Acela, which will run the flagship Acela high-speed service along the Northeast Corridor. Unless Amtrak decides that they're just teasing us a little more with such an exact date of release. Amtrak is targeting August 28, 2025 for the start of service of these next-gen Acela train sets, which will run up and down America's busiest and fastest rail corridor. But how on earth did we get here? More specifically, why on earth are we celebrating this almost 4 years late? And despite its delays, why is this train set still going to be transformative for American high-speed rail? Let's take a look and maybe answer that today. But first, some background for those who might not be as familiar. The Northeast Corridor stretches from Boston in the north to Washington, D.C. in the south, traveling along the eastern seaboard of the United States over the 450-mile journey, passing through cities like Providence, Rhode Island, New Haven, Connecticut, New York City, Newark, New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Wilmington, Delaware, and Baltimore, Maryland on its journey. Thousands of trains utilize the corridor on any given day, the majority of which being Amtrak intercity and long-distance services. None of them are more notable than Acela, Amtrak's flagship high-speed passenger service linking Boston and the nation's capital in just 6 hours and 45 minutes, often beating driving in many of its segments. The current line came to fruition in December of 2000, after Amtrak retired the slower but still high-speed Metroliner route from the Pennsylvania Railroad era 30 years before that. With it came 20 daily Acela services, ran by the original first-generation Acela train sets, known as Acela Express. These train sets, still in service today, were custom-built for Amtrak by Alstom and Bombardier, with the design being inspired by international railroads. In particular, the power cars on either end came from the units Alstom built for the TGV, France's intercity high-speed rail network. 20 were ordered, alongside 15 additional HHP-8 electric locomotives, but only a portion of those Acelas are in service every day. The rest serve as backup to replace any malfunctioning train sets over the course of a busy day. 3.2 million passengers rode on Acela during fiscal year 2024, making it Amtrak's second busiest service behind only the slower and cheaper Northeast Regional service. As ridership and demand for intercity rail in the United States has steadily increased, the old Acela train sets, now 5 years past their anticipated lifespan, are buckling under pressure. It's common to see Acela trips routinely canceled by Amtrak for maintenance issues, and with only 20 sets to cover for 20 services a day, a single issue can cause a cascade of delays and cancellations. Amtrak is aware of this, and actually has been aware of this for quite a while. Back in 2016, 4 years before the original train sets reached their projected lifespan, Amtrak took out a loan from the US DOT to purchase new train sets from Alstom. These train sets, named the Avelia Liberty, were of similar design to the Avelia Horizon, otherwise known as the TGV-M by its main customer, the SNCF. Amtrak initially projected a 2021 start of service date for the new train sets, making the older train sets go only a year further than they were expected to. But boy, how wrong were they. Construction began without a flaw at Alstom's Hornell and Rochester facilities in upstate New York in 2017, and the 2021 projection date seemed perfect. 2019 brought the first completed train set, and early 2020 saw the train tested on test tracks in Colorado, as well as the Northeast Corridor, and Amtrak did eventually push the start date back to 2022. Testing was delayed further by pandemic issues, sending the projection date further back to 2024. High-speed testing later took place in 2022 up to 165 miles per hour. At this point, though, Amtrak ran into issues. High-speed testing revealed severe incompatibilities between the train speed and the corridor's infrastructure. Much of the Northeast Corridor is over 100 years old, especially the bridges and tunnels that take the line over and under the many rivers that exist along the line. In particular, the older constant tension catenary system that operates between Washington and New Haven proved to be particularly problematic when paired with a fast-moving pantograph of a high-speed train. North of New Haven, Amtrak's catenary is variable tension, automatically adjusting to keep the extra sag in the line to a minimum. Hence, Amtrak used up weekends to upgrade and strengthen the catenary along the southern part of the route, further adding to the delay. Work was sufficiently completed by around 2023, at which point the Alstom issues decided to take place. The first of which were undisclosed until a report from the Office of the Inspector General at Amtrak, who redefined the start date to late 2024. In the report, Amtrak clarified that the train sets had been suffering from manufacturing issues, including randomly shattering windows and drainage issues which caused pooling water. All in all, more than 12 train sets and over 22 cafe cars had to be repaired by Alstom, all under warranty. Then the next issue. Per FRA regulations, before a train hits the physical tracks at high speeds for revenue service testing, a valid computer simulation must be passed to the agency from the manufacturer of the train. Alstom failed this step 14 times, submitting over a dozen different invalid simulations only to be rejected, delaying the process by over a year, which brought us to 2024, when the 15th model is finally accepted by the government. At this point, 14 of the 28 train sets have been delivered, and Amtrak issues a new date of spring 2025 for service. Since then, it's been a much smoother ride. Amtrak's been testing these NextGen Acelas up and down the corridor under the train numbers 888 and 887, which are viewable on Amtrak's Track-A-Train website. More recently, Amtrak started running the trains with test passengers in the form of Amtrak employees, who test the functions of the train sets as passengers. Which brings us to today. Amtrak just recently gave us a firm August 28, 2025 start date for the new next-gen train sets, and will announce more information about their introduction to service over the next 2 weeks. With that saga over, let's talk about the train sets themselves. The 20 old Acela Express train sets, originally bought in 2000, have been running the service for the last 25 years. 2 power cars on either end power the 6 passenger coaches, which carry 304 passengers at maximum capacity. The trains reach a maximum speed of 150 miles per hour along the corridor, at segments in central New Jersey and Massachusetts, out of a designed maximum 165 mile per hour speed. The 28 new train sets will be formed of 11 cars total, 2 power cars on either side powering the 9 passenger cars, which will carry 386 passengers, 25% more than that of the old ones. 8 more train sets, coupled with the increase in capacity, allows Amtrak to run more Acela trips, matching the increasing demand Amtrak Northeast services have experienced in the past few years. The new train sets will also be able to hit a maximum design speed of 220 miles per hour, but will only run at a maximum of 160 miles per hour due to the corridor's aging, limiting infrastructure. New projects like the new Connecticut River Bridge in Connecticut, the Gateway program in New York and New Jersey, and the new tunnel in Baltimore will help these trains run faster and more frequently. They will also include an advanced tilting system, which will allow faster speeds on the notoriously curvy Northeast Corridor at an angle of 6.3 degrees. Interior improvements include Wi-Fi, USB and power sockets, improved HVAC systems, huge bathroom facilities, and trip information displays. Amtrak is yet to release more information about the rollout of these new train sets, including what times they'll run or how many of the 5 certified train sets will be in operation on August 28th. Either way, the rollout of these train sets is just the start of a complete refresh of their nationwide rolling stock, in what they call a new era of rail. State-supported services in Illinois and California have already received new Siemens Charger and Venture rolling stock as part of state-funded efforts. Across the country, Amtrak themselves have started replacing older GE and Siemens locomotives with new Siemens Charger ALC 42 locomotives, which can be seen on many nationwide routes. And the biggest news apart from NextGen Acela came in the past 2 weeks, when Siemens announced that the first Aero train set has left the Sacramento plant in California and is on its way for initial testing in Colorado. Aero train sets will initially roll out on Amtrak's Cascades Pacific Northwest service next year, before being brought to almost all of the Northeast Corridor and East Coast services, including but not limited to the Northeast Regional, Empire Connection, Keystone, and many more. And with that, we come to the end of today's video on Amtrak's very long-awaited NextGen Acelas. If you enjoyed and want to see more content about Amtrak's nationwide renewal into a new era of rail, like, subscribe, and comment what you'd like to see below. Thanks for watching this D-Transit video, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.